Welcome to Between the Sheets, the non-judgmental podcast where we're going to cover various sexual health and wellness topics. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie Zwonitzer. I'm a urology and sexual health nurse practitioner, and I love helping my patients and listeners discover and develop their most satisfying sexual experiences. Between the Sheets is here to normalize the conversations about sexual health and cover everything from basic anatomy to the most taboo topics and everything in between. Real talk, real pleasure, one episode at a time. So come on, let's get between the sheets. This episode is sponsored by Boston Scientific and its educational website on erectile dysfunction, edcure.com. One study estimated that more than 50% of men over the age of 40 have some degree of erectile dysfunction, which can be frustrating and confusing. Go to edcure.com to find information on erectile dysfunction and treatment options, including long-term treatment options offered by Boston Scientific. Boston Scientific does not endorse any statements or opinions expressed during this episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Between the Sheets. I am happy to have you with us again today. We have a fabulous guest from the women's health arena of life. She is an expert in all things women's health. Welcome, Kirsten Karchmer. It's nice to have you.
Thank you so much. We just had a quick pre-call and it was already, I know we're going to have a great conversation. So everybody should listen up.
Yes, I am excited for it. So tell everybody a little bit about what you do in the women's health area and kind of your background.
Sure. So I was one of the first reproductive acupuncturists in North America. I spent 20 years working with over 10,000 infertile couples.
Wow.
Because in Chinese medicine, infertility is really, we're never treating infertility, we're treating everything else that's causing the infertility. So that gave me a lot of experience with miscarriage, PCOS, endometriosis, really any hormonal or menstrual related issues.
Yeah.
And then in 2018, I read a study that less than 3% of couples could afford fertility treatment. And I decided that I was part of that problem, that in many countries that one IVF exceeded the expenditure of 1 year's salary. And so I've been spending the last 7 years trying to change that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I have friends who have gone through IVF and it is very disruptive financially to their goals, their plans. And so I think that's amazing that you're helping with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me a little bit about your work that you're currently doing with couples and individuals.
So I'm not in my clinic anymore. Actually, I had to surrender my license to do the work that I'm doing with AI because in Texas, you have to be in the clinic 20 hours a week. And I'm not in the clinic at all anymore. I'm mostly working on, translating all of those things into technology so that we can deliver something with the same or better outcomes for 1,000th the price of IVF, So my day-to-day looks like researching. I do spend a lot of time researching, looking for all of the smallest subclinical factors that can be signals for us to pay attention to that I might not be aware of. And then how do we incorporate those into the app experience so that at the right time, what I believe is that women and people with periods, they deserve to have a virtual care team that understands exactly what's going on for them. And then each of their roles, they know their roles like, oh, I help with food and I help by understanding the data and giving precision to what we're doing. So we're not doing everything. We're only doing a few of the right things. A therapist to help you cope with what's happening with the daily stress, with what's happening with your relationship, with what's happening in your sex life, all of those things. And so all at once, you have this team who's just like rooting for you and working for you to not only help you to transform your health and fertility, but to actually give you more freedom to do the things that you want to do.
That's amazing. So you're basically getting a conglomerate of healthcare professionals in the fertility space and the women's health space, all available through this app.
But they're all AI.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
That's how we can do it for $15 a month.
Okay.
But you won't notice. You won't notice. Like, it's so good. We've spent thousands and thousands and thousands of hours training each of these agents. So, like the chef, her name is Olive. After you go through your assessment with Kai, that's the AI version of me, Kirsten AI. Then basically we identify all the subclinical factors that are impacting this person's ability to get and stay pregnant. And then how are they connected to each other? Because it's through this special technology that looks at, maybe you have 1 day of bleeding, you're a vegan, you also have gas and bloating, and you're doing CrossFit. Those things are also all connected to each other.
Okay.
And so the AI can understand that and then gives instructions to your care team. Okay, chef, what are the nutritional deficiencies that we need to work on to overcome these problems? Or
Uh-huh.
maybe she has insulin resistance. Well, this person has insulin resistance. We need an increase in protein, fiber, and fat for this person. We can use Chinese medicine food therapy across each week of the menstrual cycle to
Mhm.
use food as medicine as well. And that level of personalization produces unbelievable results. Like the women in our pilot, it was 105 women,
Mhm.
increase the likelihood of natural conception by 150 up to 260% in 4
Wow.
months with no human interaction, all for $15 a month.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, it actually, she beat me. We did a pilot. It was 105 women seeing me. I mean, I
Yeah.
was the first reproductive acupuncturist in all of North America. I was in a cohort, like probably 20
Yeah.
people sat for the exam at the same time as me, but still, I'm pretty good at what I was doing. And then the
Yeah.
app beat me by 6%. Not because
Wow.
acupuncture is not helpful. It's because what happens between acupuncture is actually really important. And that's where the app really shines.
Yeah, I love the holistic approach because a lot of times when we go to Western medicine, and myself is included in that, I'm a urologist. So when you come to Western medicine, we're really good at focusing on our lane, our part of the body. And okay, cool, you have all these other things going on. And yeah, diet and nutrition might help you, but like, here's a pill. We're real
Yeah.
good at that. And I love when providers and practitioners can pull in the diet, the nutrition, the sleep, all of these things that really affect the balancing of our hormones and all of these things. Like, if we're not incorporating those, we are doing a disservice to our patients.
We are, but as clinicians, we don't have time to do that. Even in my
Correct.
clinic, like I had more time than you did, but I still didn't have time. I mean, what we did is we basically, my admin would fill in the gaps. Like, this is what I want her to be eating. This is what and so we'd give her a bunch of handouts, like do this. And they'd be like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Here, Kai is like bothering you. Hey, I haven't seen what you eat in a few days. Like we're trying to get your
Mm,
conceivable score above 60. So we want to be layering in a sweet way, in a supportive way,
yeah.
from urology standpoint, you know, if a woman, maybe she doesn't have cervical discharge. And
Uh-huh.
so the Kai would ask her, well, first, are you hydrated?
Yeah.
Right before we decide there's a problem, the problem could be as simple as I don't ever drink water.
Hmm.
But then she has to take the next step by saying, the person says, no, I don't drink water. I drink Coke or I drink whatever. Then she
Uh-huh.
has to say, okay, is this because you're not thirsty? Clinical question, or you keep
Hmm.
forgetting, right?
Mm,
Behavioral question.
yeah.
And so with each of those decision trees, the care team gets different instructions, right? So if
Hmm.
she's just forgetting, then Saren, the therapist, comes in and does cognitive behavioral therapy or some kind of behavioral economic work with her to come up with a habit strategy for her. Versus if she says, I'm not thirsty, then she has to say, okay, well, in Chinese medicine, that's a symptom of like digestive upset because you're too phlegmy. The phlegm
Mm,
actually makes you feel full and not thirsty. And so then she would say, well, do you have gas or bloating after you eat? Do you
mm,
feel like, when you eat, do you feel satisfied with the food? Do you have mucus in your stool? All these things. So then we have to go back to like the clinical part. So that's how those
yeah.
pieces are all trained to work with each other and interact.
That is really cool. I love that. That's really neat. So these people that are interacting with your app, do they then also have their OBs and things that they're going to, and they're using this kind of in between those appointments to really optimize their health and their fertility?
Yes, I mean, for sure. I always say because, especially clinician to clinician, people are like, is this going to erase me? Is this going to make me
Mhm.
obsolete? Well, first of all, in Chinese medicine, they say this statement. In fact, there's thousands of statements back in Chinese medicine, but one is that the good doctor treats the patient, the great doctor treats society, but the master can make herself obsolete.
Mm,
What if we actually made the goal of making ourselves obsolete? And so when I saw that the app beat me, I was hoping the app was going to be 50% as good as me.
yeah.
And then the app beat me, and at first it was like ego. I was like, "Well,
Yeah.
there's that. I guess I can't charge what I was charging at my." I closed my clinics. I was like, "I can't ethically keep my clinics open anymore because at least in my clinic, the AI is better than me, right?" But AI can never replace a human.
Right.
Right. The interpersonal, the human touch, the outside of the box thinking that isn't
Right.
based on any, large language model, that can't be replaced. But what we want to
Yeah.
do is we want to make the job of physicians easier
Hmm.
So this isn't available yet, but for even our acupuncturist, what I found when I was training a lot of acupuncturists is there's very little inter operability, you know what I mean? Where everybody's getting the same
Yes.
diagnosis because I literally can't say it. And you know what I want. So in not in this version of that, but the next update, the acupuncturist will be able to just go in and talk to AI me. And they can
Uh,
say, "Hey, what's this person's Chinese medicine diagnosis? What are the points you would use and what herbs would you use?" And they don't have to follow that, but it's always nice to just get a second opinion right on the
yeah.
thing. And especially you have a lot of acupuncturists who aren't trained in reproductive medicine. They're just
Hmm.
generalists who don't have the skills to actually
Yeah.
get the job done. In fact, I would mostly say in that situation it's largely a waste of money because it's not the same. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so we wanna look for those opportunities. And so things that we can do is building reports for physicians.
Hmm.
Also being able to say, like, I think that Conceival because ultimately Conceival won't only be for fertility, it'll be from age 7 to 90.
Okay.
Every single thing that might be happening around reproductive health for a woman from pre-period until death. And
Wow.
that virtual care team even will age with her. So if your daughter is 7 years old and she starts using, I'll be 7 and the care team will
Mm,
be 7. And then they will build a relationship with her over however long she's with us so that maybe she starts when she's 7 and now she's 25. I'll be dead by
yeah.
then probably. But and she says, "Kai, I duplicated myself." She'll say, "Kai, I think I just got married. We want to try and get pregnant. What do I need to do to get ready for this?"
Mhm.
Kai and the team can look back through her whole since age 7 and say, "Well, you got your period at 11. That's perfect. You had some bumps in the road, but then your cycle really regulated. But then when you went to college, it got really dysregulated and we haven't really gotten it back on track. Let's
Mhm.
do that now."
Yeah.
That's the kind of care that I think that all women and people with periods deserve.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a much better approach than the segregated sections that you can get in conventional medicine. So that's really fabulous. What are a couple takeaways that our listeners could take from you? Advice that would come through the app if they get it, right? So, what are a couple things that if somebody is struggling with infertility right now? They're just getting new to the app. What are a couple things that they might learn right off the bat that they need to work on?
Oh my gosh, so many. And to be fair, we did the pilot. We pulled that like the pilot was with an MVP that I wasn't satisfied with like releasing to the public. So the new version of the app will be ready in about 7 weeks. So people can't
Okay.
if this airs before that, they'll have to wait just a little bit, but they can get on
Okay.
early access. One of the things that they will learn is that women have been told a lot of misinformation about ovulation tracking and prediction.
Okay.
I really, really, even though we are a tracker, we know that, but we don't stop there. We know from the clinical data that tracking does not change outcomes.
Mm.
Weight
Mhm.
tracking, fitness tracking, even food tracking does not change the outcomes. Data doesn't change anything. Using a period tracker or a fertility monitor, these expensive ones, may increase. You can capture ovulation. That's not that
Mhm.
hard to do. You actually don't need a device for that. But more importantly, there is not a single bit of data that shows using a fertility monitor increases your chances of delivering a baby. What that
Mm.
means to me is that fertility monitors increase your chance of having a miscarriage,
Okay.
right? Because it helps you to
Yeah.
get pregnant, but it doesn't do anything to help you to stay pregnant.
Stay pregnant.
And
Sure.
if we have a woman who has a 70-day period, right, between periods, she's
Mhm.
ovulating on day 55.
Okay.
Once we get past cycle day 20, the egg is declining,
Mm.
right? It gets to its apogee of, fertilizability. And
Mhm.
once we get to cycle day 20, the body's like, I guess we're probably not going to use this. And then it starts to break down. And which shows we know that having cycles that are longer than 20 days are associated with significant higher miscarriage risk. This is
Hmm.
why. If your fertility monitor isn't setting up a big pop up as soon as you say you have a 70-day cycle and saying, hold on,
Yeah.
before we start trying to capture ovulation, let's figure out why your cycle's so long and fix it. Because
Okay.
everything causing that long cycle is going to make it harder to get pregnant, stay pregnant, and have a healthy pregnancy.
Okay.
And so at Conceivable, we're tracking all that data and more data, but then you have Atlas, the data analyst, and she's able to look at everything, not saying
Mhm.
your PPD is 14, your LH is 13.2. Then women are like, what does this mean and what do I do about it? The app is then saying, okay, here's the situation. your PGD is 12.5, but your temperatures are consistently above 98 and you have not had a low progesterone level, or
Okay.
your temperatures are really low. We correlated lower temperatures after ovulation with lower progesterone. So it's a biomarker that we sort of
Mm-hmm.
pioneered. And so what she would be saying is like, your temperatures are still low after ovulation. They're still 97.6. I'd like to get them above 98 so we're sure there's enough progesterone. Let me ask you some questions so I can figure out why your temperatures are low and help you to repair it.
Yeah.
That's if whatever you're doing on the journey is you want to keep having people, you tell them something and they say, let's figure out why. Then you tell them something
Mm-hmm.
else and they say, let's figure out why that is. The action should be peeling back the layers of the onion. You
Yeah.
know, you have low progesterone. Okay. Then you have low temperatures. Then you have low energy. Then you have a gut issue. Then you're also doing CrossFit. None of those are causing you not to get pregnant. All of those are causing you not to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And so as we work on all of them, we can get exponential really fast. The other thing that most people don't know about is that fatigue, exhaustion is highly correlated with infertility and extremely correlated with miscarriage.
Wow.
That's one of the things that people are like, what? I've never heard that before. I can't believe that, but it is true.
Yeah.
We interviewed 16,000 women last year. The first question we always ask, and Kai asks it too, is what's your energy on a 1
Mm-hmm.
to 10 with no caffeine or exercise for 2 days? On the third day, what do you look like?
Mm.
And out of those 16,000, 80% said their energy was 6 or below.
Yeah.
80%,
Wow.
40% were 4 or below.
Wow.
Those people are not
Yeah.
getting pregnant, but it's
Right.
not a catastrophe. And those people are not the people who should jump into IVF. It is unlikely to be successful. Making
Mm-hmm.
humans is very resource dependent.
Mm-hmm.
It's very resource dependent.
Yeah.
And your body is saying, I don't even have enough energy to make energy, or I can only make 1 day of bleeding, or I don't have any progesterone. We don't have enough resources to make this work. But the good news is all of it's correctable.
Okay.
So if I was going to give advice to someone who, is just starting or who's been struggling for 5 or 10 years and not getting
Mm-hmm.
answers and their doctor's like, you just have unexplained infertility. I always say I've never seen a true case of unexplained infertility. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean I've helped every woman I've ever tried to work with, but when they sit down with me, I've never been like, there isn't one thing that would be impacting your fertility.
Yeah.
So that's very disempowering when we give people an unexplained infertility because then they're just like, well, I guess I just keep trying for the next 20 years. And if I don't get pregnant,
Right.
then I don't get pregnant. When often there's a lot of resources that they could be working on themselves.
Yeah. I think it's such a powerful thing to be able to take control of some of that. And I think a lot of times as women, we don't always get into our true power, into our true selves to really take ownership of the things that we have control over that we can change. I can change my diet. I can change how much I move throughout the day. I can change my sleep hygiene and get better sleep.
Mhm.
And I don't need to pay a very expensive specialist to do those things. But if I don't know that those are contributing to my current issue, then I don't know where to start. So
Yeah.
I love that it's essentially empowering women to take charge of their own fertility.
Thank you. Yes. And like I'm sure you have the same thing in clinic like, after you help somebody that the doctor becomes the hero, right?
Yeah.
And I would always see patients like at Target and things like that with their babies. In fact, I'm in
Mhm.
Hawaii right now and coming to Hawaii, I saw a woman that I helped 17 years ago. And
Wow.
I was like, Daphne? And she looked at me and she's like, Kirsten? I was like, you look exactly the same. She goes, you look exactly the same. And we just, caught up and everything.
Ah.
But what I think is really important is that, oh no, is that we realize that when we give women first the education that we need, that they need
Mhm.
to just understand how their bodies work and
Mhm.
the levers that they can push and pull to change those underlying issues. And the other thing about it is that I always like this idea of using the app to help women and people with periods to be the hero of their own journey. You're right. You said something earlier about like something happens to a woman when she's the architect of her transformation. And I always say like Kai should be like Yoda. If I could have called Kai Yoda, I would have, but they would have sued me for that. But, really it's like who are the people? They're just on the sidelines, just point like, hey, check this out. Like if you look here and just do these few things. And, I think that what you also said was that, there's all these things that women can be doing, but they just don't know where to start. If we
Yeah.
can just give them the framework, they want to do it. it's
Mhm.
often there's just too much, confusion, and we haven't tied the why to enough of it. Like, I
Mhm.
know I should sleep more, but I mean, I seem like I'm doing fine with 6 hours of sleep or whatever. I think there's
Yep.
a lot of that that goes on.
Yep.
So, the other piece of it is that when we help women to be the heroes of this journey, they become transformed kind of mothers. And now they're transmitting who they've become through this experience as mothers to their offsprings and to their families. So then it allows us to then have a generational impact, which for me is pretty inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. It's interesting because I think that sleep is probably the number one thing that in my patients, male and female, they don't understand how imperative sleep is to our overall health. Balancing our hormones, letting the neurotransmitters grow at night, letting our body calm down and reset itself overnight, the effects on our cortisol, all of these things that affect every aspect of our life. And if we just got some more damn sleep, we would be doing a lot better.
It's so true, and I think part of it is that we have been conditioned, women have 2 main things that we've been conditioned. First of all, to look cute at all times.
Yeah.
Don't be mad and don't be sad, because if you're mad, you're just a bitch, and if you're sad, you're a big fat baby,
Yeah.
right? So women are like,
Yeah.
and the second one is that never sleep, because only
Mhm.
lazy people sleep.
Yep.
I talk to women all day long, and they're like, "My energy is a 4 out of 10." I was like, "Okay, but you only sleep 5 hours a night. This
Mhm.
is clear. This is a very straightforward path." I said, "Are you not tired?" Or, whatever. And it's
Yeah.
like, my to-do list is just too
Mm.
long.
Yep.
And so part of it is really helping women. This is the part that'll, need more and more finesse as we continue, is like, how do we coach women to really start to prioritize what's really important to them?
Yeah.
Because all of it can't be important if you're only sleeping 5 hours. Like, some things are gonna have to
Mhm.
get the hatchet. And how do we help women to learn how to ask for help better? Because
Yeah.
raising a family, it really does take a village, and even if you don't live near family, build your community
Mhm.
around you. And how do you do that? And how do you build, again, I'm here in Kauai visiting from some friends for a month, and my friends, they know because they live on an island, right? We're about to get hammered with a hell of a storm.
Mhm.
Their whole neighbors, their whole street, everybody knows each other on the
Mhm.
street. Everybody takes a walk. It's so beautiful here. Everybody's out walking every day, and no one just goes, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Everybody stops, and my son is here, and he was like, "Oh my god, everybody, like, talks so much." I'm like, "This is community building."
Yeah.
Everybody knows what's going on with everybody because everybody needs to know what's going on, and when somebody gets sick, everybody comes over and brings
Mm.
food, and I think that we need more of that in modern community, even in apartments
Yeah.
and condos. Like, I live in a condo, and, we all say hi to each other, but we almost never talk to each other,
Sure.
right?
Probably
And
don't
I
even know
think
half of their names.
exactly, we just know them
Yeah.
by face, or I know their
Yeah.
dogs' names mostly.
Yes, I do too.
"There's Fifi."
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I know it's so funny when I've taken walks with my fiancé around my neighborhood and I'll be like, "Oh, that dog is whoever." And I'm like, "But I don't know the adult's name."
Well, or
Because
it's
I
like
love dogs.
dog's mommy, like
Yeah.
Fifi's mommy. "Oh, you must be Fifi's mommy."
Yes. Yeah. That's so funny because it's so true. But it's interesting as we talk about sleep. I am a person that loves my sleep, and it's one thing that I've learned that I do truly function better with 8 hours of sleep. I am an 8 hour person, and I get made fun of so much because I am in bed between 8:30 and 9, and I am lights out no later than 9:30, 80 to 90% of the time. Every once in a
Yeah,
while, because my kids are young adults, they apparently like to talk at bedtime, which I'm not sure why teenagers and young adults like to do that, but that is the time that they like to come and talk to mom. So there are
mhm,
times that I push my bedtime, but it has made a world of difference. When I
mhm.
was working full time with young children, doing grad school, all these things, I was the woman only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep every night because somebody's got to take care of everything.
Yeah,
And I call it one more thing itis. Well, I'll just get this one more thing done. Just one more thing. And that is such a disservice to ourselves. That one more thing should be getting enough sleep.
yeah. Yes. Oh, I love that. I'm actually gonna make a TikTok about that because that's really good. Your one more thing should be getting more sleep. If we looked at, I had just from being in clinic for so long, I had ideas about what were sort of the ideal things that women need to do to get the result that I was trying to get to, right? But then as we were building, wanting to build like, a library of data to support all the things that we're asserting, so we're not just like looking like a wahoo. And so we were looking at elite athletes for like what do elite athletes need for optimal athletic performance? And the truth is the research shows 9.5 hours
Wow.
is optimal performance. Not
Wow.
so you are not even like on the edge of getting a lot of sleep.
Right.
And I tell people like I said, the way, at like once you get your energy up to an 8, then what you want to do is like at some point you won't be able to sleep 9.5 hours.
Mhm.
As your nervous system gets restored, as you start doing a little bit of breath work, as you start to I think one of the biggest things that we can teach women is to start paying attention to their nervous system throughout the
Mm,
day. And because you're either in flight or fright or in rest or relax. And when I
mhm,
started doing research about 5 years ago on heart rate variability and its impact, its use as a biometric for both fertility and adverse birth events in pregnancy, I got really obsessed. And I was using this one particular app, Welltory,
mhm,
that you can check your HRV, which is, for those of you who don't know, that's heart rate variability. Different
mhm.
from heart rate, it's a measure of resilience,
Okay.
and it's one of the best predictors of longevity, but it also tells us a lot what's happening reproductively. And what I saw was that with HRV, in that it would tell you what percentage are you right now in flight or fright and rest and relax. And I had been really sick previous to that, and I never got out of flight or fright. I did
Wow.
experiments where I stayed in bed binging, like, sweet Netflix shows, like
Yeah.
The Bake Off, like, really
Yeah.
sweet Netflix shows, giving myself acupuncture throughout the day, meditating throughout the day, doing breath work throughout the day, taking walks out and grounding, like, doing every single thing that you
Yeah.
could possibly do, humming, chanting, drinking wine, like, every single thing. I did not get out of flight or fright.
Hmm.
And what that told me was that when we're trying to help people to recover their health, if we don't look at that first, we
Mhm.
can add better food, we can add better sleep. All of that's gonna take much longer if we don't help her to understand what is it to self-regulate to see like, "Oh, if I had to guess, am I in flight or fright or rest and relax right now?" And
Mhm.
then check it so that you can
Uh-huh.
start learning it yourself. I mean, we have a wearable at Conceivable, so you can use our ring to do that, but you can also use this app. It's like
Okay.
$10 a month, and I really appreciate that also then you use it as a biohacking tool. So,
Yeah.
what are the things that actually raise your heart rate variability and get you out of flight or fright? What I learned was a device, the Pulsetto. I'm not affiliated with them, but it's basically this plastic thing that goes around your neck. I have to like do my wrinkles around my neck, and it sits right on the vagus nerve. You put a little
Okay.
lubricant on it, and then it has two little things that deliver a little micro current to your
Mhm.
vagus nerve. And basically, it's like weightlifting for your vagus nerve. Tones
Wow.
the vagus nerve very quickly. It's not cheap, $300, but if anybody's interested, what I recommend is that you get it. They have a month return policy. Get it, use it 2 times a day, monitor your HRV every single day for like 21 days. If it's not going up, send it back. And if it is, that's really good and keep it. It's worth the money
Yeah.
because 20 minutes of chanting is really hard. Or I guess it runs for like 5 to 10 minutes, different
Okay.
cycles, one for sleep, one for and the way that I use it is I usually start kind of petering out. I get up like you really early. So about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm like, whoa, I feel kind of tired.
Yeah.
What I found is when I get to tired, I've dropped into flight or fright.
Huh.
Right? I don't have the
Interesting.
resources to get through the rest of the day, so my body's like, "Let's go use adrenaline."
Yeah.
So then I decided, well, I'm gonna use the Pulsetto at 12 o'clock
Mm.
before I crash, and then
Okay.
it eliminated that crash, both the energetic crash and also the crash of my HRV and going into flight or fright, and then again before bed to try to get the deepest and most restorative sleep possible.
Mm. That's
I
really
actually
interesting. I like that.
I use it all the time, and you have to the lube is kind of thick, and one day I was actually on a date,
Oh,
and I had not cleaned it off my neck, and the guy's like, "What's that on your neck?" And I was like, "That's lube."
it's like date over.
And he was like, "What?" And I said, "It's not it is lube, let me explain." But I just sort of like shock factor, so,
Yeah.
you have to just have levity around all of this.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think things are really funny
Absolutely.
in the world, so it was lube,
Yeah.
not
Yep.
from anything sexy, but
Oh, that's great. So, for outside of infertility, what are some other things you said this is from 70 to 90 the whole way through. What other
7 to
things are
90.
7 to 90, sorry. What what all other issues are you looking at and helping women with besides infertility?
Really, whatever, I mean, any sort of anything that I want to say anything related to menstrual health.
Okay.
So we like to see like a what I call a conceivable cycle, which is the cycle in which both from the peer review data and my clinical experience where people are most likely to get pregnant. So they
Okay.
have a 28 to 32 day cycle. They ovulate on cycle day 14 to 16 with clear, stretchy cervical discharge. They do not have PMS. They
Mhm.
do not have cramping. They do not have clotting. They have fresh red blood for 4 days. They soak a tampon about every 4 hours, not more or less. Their energy is 8 out of 10, and their temperatures get consistently to the 90s after ovulation. I do that exact thing every single time I say that. I literally can't not move my
Yeah.
hands. So, say if she's 7 years old, obviously she hasn't had her first period. I have a one TikTok that's about periods, and that's about 300,000 girls who have not had their first periods asking questions by the millions.
Mhm.
I realize that that's where the work has to start.
Yeah.
Period positivity, body positivity. And the most common questions they asked me was, when is your first period going to come? And how do I make it come faster? So
Ah,
I
they
built a
want it
little,
earlier?
they do because it's status. The boys start
Yeah.
paying attention to you. You get boobs, you get taller, you get curvy. You're not a little baby anymore. You're becoming a
Yeah.
woman. It's a status thing. They don't know what but they're also terrified. So they're like,
Sure.
when's it going to come? How bad it's going to be and what do I do? And so I was like, well, this should be part of the app because what we want to do is I built a predictive analytics tool so
Mhm.
they can, get an assessment. We'll predict their first period based on the metrics that are
Huh.
predictive of first onset of puberty. I mean, of menstruation. But then what I would tell the girls in my TikTok is they'll say, how do I make it come faster? And I was like, as a mother, I'm like, I can manipulate a little bit here. I was like, well,
Yeah.
your period is a reflection of how much your body likes how you're taking care of it, how much rest you get at night and the quality of the rest, how much stress you have in your life, which you don't often have control over, but you do have control over how you manage and cope with it. We can help you with that.
Mm.
The food, the quality and the food that you eat, the how well you digest it, gas, bloating,
Mhm.
fatigue after meals, your energy levels, and even the chemicals that you put on your skin. Because my daughter, I have a
Yeah.
20-year-old, her bathroom has 3,000 products, not literally, but
Yes.
I'm like, baby, this is because she's like, your skin looks so good. I'm almost 60. And I was like, I use Dove.
Yeah.
I use Dove and coconut oil on my face. Like, you're
Yeah.
getting scammed. You're getting scammed, baby. Your skin is beautiful. You're 20 years old. You don't have a
Yeah.
wrinkle. You don't go out in the sun. Like, you don't need it. But
Yeah.
all of those have so much forever chemicals in them that are
Mhm.
so hormone disrupting. So all of that, and so the young woman will be tracking that, and then we'll be flooding her with content, fun, like
Mm.
cute, kind of TikTok-y kind of content that's like body positivity, period positivity. Gloria Steinem wrote an essay in the 70s, If Men Had Periods. And
Yeah.
if you want to have a big laugh, you'll laugh your ass off. But basically, the premise was if men had periods, having a period would be the baddest ass thing on the planet.
Mhm.
And men would make us feel bad because we don't have periods. And that's what I want to restore.
Yeah.
I want
It's
girls.
interesting. Go ahead, finish. It's interesting. We just, when we're recording this, we just finished the Olympics a couple weeks ago, and the gold medalist for women's figure skating made a comment about that she was on her period at the time that she won her gold medal and how difficult it was because of her cramping and these kinds of things. And the comments that came out of that were so negative and like, keep
Asshole.
that to yourself. We don't want to know that. And I'm sitting there like, this is fabulous. Tell someone that because the days that I have cramping and stuff, it is a lot harder for me to focus at work, for me to stay on task. And this girl just went and flipped herself around on some little ice
In
skates
one.
and won a gold medal. And you're going to complain that she made a comment about doing it while on her period? Hell yeah, girl. Go for it. What's that? I am woman, hear me roar.
I agree. Well, we talked about this in the pre-show. Like, so often hosts will ask me, is there anything that's going to make you uncomfortable to talk about? And I was like, I hope you ask me things that make me feel uncomfortable. This is why women's health is in the state. This is why
Mm-hmm.
so many women can't get pregnant because we can't even mention that we're on
Yep.
our period without getting like scammed. Not
Yeah.
scammed, but like, what do you call it? Trolled on social
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
It's really, so often because people will ask like what do I do for the living, and then I'm talking about periods and menstrual classes, and like whoa too
Like
much
we're going
information. Like I was like, listen, what you've forgotten is that women are the future of the species. And
Yeah.
without that gross thing called their period, everybody dies in the next generation. Like there's no
Yep.
future. And instead of, I wrote a book about periods about 10 years ago called Seeing Red. And the first part of it's sort of a manifesto on all of that we're talking about. But my publisher's like, we want you to tell them how to fix periods. I was like, that's the boring part.
Yeah.
But but I was really interested in is like 82% of women report life interrupting menstrual pain and PMS. Life
Mhm.
interrupting, not that they have it, but that it's life interrupting. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for 25 years. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Everybody who came to me had PMS and cramping. It's correlated with infertility. So I didn't think it was so systemic.
Mhm.
And so I was like, how did we get here that no one is even talking about this? And so
Yeah.
I went back. I was a linguist in my first career. I started reading everything that I could get my hands on from the beginning of written time. First
Mhm.
thing is in the Bible, the book of Leviticus. It says, that thing is so vile. It's as vile as a menstruating woman or the devil. First thing ever. I mean, there's Chinese medicine documents from like 3,000 years ago, and then shortly after that, Aristotle, you know,
Mhm.
father of modern medicine, greatest thinker of all time, some think. And he says, women are the inferior species because they menstruate. They are feeble. Men contribute the seed, and women only contribute the soil in which the seed can grow. The seed contains the spirit in the intellect, and the
Wow.
woman is basically a superfluous vessel to support the
Wow.
growth of the seed. That was the prevailing conversation for 17 centuries until the discovery of the ovum.
Yeah. That's so crazy.
So that's how we got here, and that's the work that we have to do to untangle that. But
Yeah,
I'm
and I
up
think
for it.
back. Yeah, absolutely. I think back to, like, 4th grade health, like, none of the things that make your period better were talked about. You were just taught you were gonna have one, you're gonna get breast buds, you're gonna get pubic hair, but nobody said, "Hey, when you're cramping, if you eat these things, it helps. If you get sleep at night, it helps." Because none of us were taught correctly, what can you tell women who are struggling with PMS symptoms? What are some things they can focus on?
So remember the liver, the job of the liver at the end of your period is to sort of very oversimplified, is to use and get rid of hormones.
Mhm.
And so if you have a lot of it is a normal state to not have PMS, even though
Okay.
82% of you do have PMS. And so first of all, let's normalize not having PMS. That's not a unicorn. Like
Okay.
85% of women can have almost no PMS in 90 days.
Hmm.
So we need, first of all, if you have PMS, you want to look at how many days of bleeding you have.
Okay.
So why is that important? You're like, how is that related? The liver
Yeah.
actually needs a lot of blood. The liver's the only organ that can regenerate itself, but it needs a
Yep.
lot of blood. In Chinese medicine, a lot of the blood pools in the liver at night. And that's sort of where some of the mechanism for this regeneration comes from. That's Chinese medicine. That's not the biomedical explanation, but it's a
Mhm.
little bit easier to understand. When there isn't when you see somebody who has like 1 day or 2 days of scanty bleeding, they are almost always gonna have really bad PMS, and
Hmm.
often those same women will have PMDD, which is the more severe hormone sensitivity, which 1 in 3 of those women will try to kill themselves over it. That's how bad it is.
Wow.
So, but what we found is that when we improve, if we find why there isn't any blood and we improve
Mhm.
that by improving whatever the reason is, it's often over exercise, diet isn't quite right for you, or digestion isn't allowing you to break that food down, convert it into the building blocks for making marrow, for making blood, for making a
Mhm.
lining. If you improve that, then the liver is basically, we would say, better nourished, starts functioning better.
Okay.
You can see the PMS in your basal body temperature chart because you'll see the more like the less PMS, more stable line, more
Mhm.
PMS, right? Because hormones are often
Okay.
pulsatile. You'll see this up and down across there. And you'll see a correlation as your PMS is getting better. The delta between the highs and lows starts getting smaller and smaller and usually takes about 90 days. Energy is really important with PMS as well. Think of your liver as the flight attendant for your hormones. And so the flight attendant, when it has good energy, is like you go here, you go here, you go here, directing your energy where it should be going. And when it gets stuck, you get more PMS, more irritability. The liver doesn't function as well.
Mhm.
So if you have PMS, look at your menstrual blood, and not only scanty bleeding, but say you have a lot of clotting and you bleed for 10 days.
Mhm.
That 10 days of bleeding is coming because of the clotting.
Mm. Okay.
And or a combination of exhaustion, like you don't have the energy to hold the blood, that flooding. But usually you get rid of the clotting, you get rid of the heavy bleeding. So you
Okay.
can see There's not a direct path. There's also a Chinese medicine formula. Text it. I'll put to you afterwards. It's called Jiawei Xiaoyaosan.
Okay.
It's ridiculously effective for PMS.
Okay.
Just make sure that you use like a brand plum flower. We used to carry it. It in Braze in my other company, but we're going to transition it. Someday you'll be able to get it from Conceivable, just not right now. We got too much going on to deal
Yeah.
with this. But Jiawei Xiaoyasan plum flower, you want to get it made in the US. Golden flower is also a very reputable brand. In China, there's not as tight of regulation.
Mm.
Often they'll put steroids or antibiotics or even pharmaceuticals in the Chinese medicine formulas, which make them look like they work hella good,
Yeah.
but has stuff in it that you're not signing up for, and it might not be disclosed on the label. Plum flower, golden flower, very, very reputable. And cramping is even easier to get rid of, but you need Chinese herbal medicine that, somebody's going to have to prescribe for that.
Interesting. And it's so interesting. So when I was growing up, I ran track, and our track coach, who was a man, very nice man though, but would always tell us to take iron. But I haven't really heard you talk about iron much, even with that. So are you trying to get that through your diet? Is that not something that we really need? What is up with iron?
So it's interesting on social media, there's some creators who are promoting Geritol as a fertility
Mhm.
treatment. And they
Okay.
say Geritol is a baby in a bottle. The only thing that I can think of is why anyone has gotten pregnant from Geritol is it has a lot of iron in it.
Okay.
But the problem is it's super low quality iron. If you're taking a good prenatal, a high quality, it's going to have a huge dose of iron in it. And
Okay.
if you're taking that plus supplemental iron, you're actually going to have iron overdose, which is quite injurious to our body. We don't want that.
Okay.
Iron would be that this is the Western medical thinking, like not enough blood, give iron.
Yeah.
The first question has to be if this person is, say, a vegan,
Hmm.
maybe they need iron, maybe they need B12.
Yeah.
Maybe they need a methylated B complex.
Hmm.
Maybe she's exercising too much. Maybe it's a combination. She's tired because she's, anemic, but other things. She's tired and she has a gut issue. So even if you give her iron, she's not able to break it down and use it effectively. Like we have a prenatal at Conceivable that uses ferrous chelate, which is the
Hmm.
only iron that's, chelated so it doesn't cause nausea and constipated, super absorbable. But other irons can be, quite hard on the system.
Yeah.
So it's not that iron isn't appropriate. It's just not the first. A personalized approach is always going to be where we're going to go first. What exactly does this person need? And if she's already
Mm.
taking a high quality prenatal, we don't need to add iron. We're going to add B vitamins. We're going to add things to support whatever is missing
Yeah.
out of that
Hmm, that's really interesting. Thinking of conceivable from my perspective, okay, I'm in my 40s. I absolutely do not want more children. Mine are 18 and 20. I do not want more. But I also don't want to be on birth control because the older I get, the more that's going to mess with my hormones as I get I'm in perimenopause and whatever. So, um I'm thinking of using conceivable as like anti-conceivable. So it would really help me though track when I'm fertile and when days to avoid and things so that I can maintain my non-pregnant self without birth control.
Yes. So I have said many times, like I would not touch that like as a offering with like I just don't have confidence yet that it's accurate enough to prevent pregnancy because
Hmm.
what I tell people is we don't even spend a lot of time in Conceivable like tracking ovulation. It's
Okay.
not that important. We do, I mean, we can see if they're tracking their basal body, we can confirm ovulation retrospectively. The
Okay.
goal is to get them to a 28 to 32 day cycle and then avoid cycle day 12 through 18,
Mm,
right?
that's a long
So if you were
time.
going to do it, huh?
That's a
It's a
long
long
time.
time. It is a long time, right? So, unless you're trying to, like, tell your hubby, like, "I don't wanna have as much sex as I used to wanted to
Right.
have sex," so, I wouldn't do it if instead, I would just use a non-hormonal IUD.
Yeah.
That's pretty much guaranteed, and, it's uncomfortable, and some people have worse periods on it, but if you don't, that's gonna be your safest bet. You could use, like, a diaphragm, like, in the
Hmm.
kinda questionable time, but that's kind of a pain in the ass too, but, there's not really great options, but the
Yeah.
liability of saying, like, you could use conceivable to prevent on what it's such a, like,
Yeah.
and you miss the fertile window, you got next month. You get an unplanned pregnancy, you got a lifetime commitment. So,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
where I wanna make sure I mean, mine are the same age, a little bit older, 20 and 22. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like, no way do you want and I got pregnant at 47,
Oh, wow.
uh, accidentally, and my FSH was 23 at the time.
Wow.
And I had a new boyfriend. I'm always talking about things I shouldn't be talking about publicly. I had a new boyfriend, and he said I didn't wanna use, any contraception, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Look, I'm fucking world famous at this. I can't get pregnant." And he's
Yeah.
like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" I'm like, "I'm 100% sure. Haven't had a period in yet. My FSH is 23, my AMH is like 0.001. There's 0 chance." Yeah, that
Wow.
wasn't true. I had a miscarriage. That pregnancy did not stay, but that was
Yeah.
probably the will of the universe,
Yeah.
writing things.
A little bit terrifying there, I'm sure.
I was like,
And
"How
I'm
am I gonna?"
sure that there are also women out there that would embrace a pregnancy at 47 who maybe have
100%.
infertility issues and things like that. So good for them, just not
Yeah.
us.
100%, a
Yeah.
100%. I mean, it's like everyone is on their journey and there's the right time and the right place, and even some people will be like, "I wish you wouldn't have told that story because that makes me feel bad." Don't let that make you feel bad.
No.
You're on your own journey, I'm on my own journey, and we don't
Yep.
have to be in competition about it because it was, easy for me to get pregnant. Well, I've been following my own system for the last 30 years. Like, it's not surprising that
Yeah.
impacted my ability to still get pregnant with really high FSH and AMH, and so it's easy to feel like sometimes triggered by those kinds of stories. And
Uh-huh.
those are the things I want to work at because when we're triggered by something, we don't have power.
Right.
When
Right.
we allow ourselves to be triggered, we give our power to the person that triggered us. And I don't ever want to do that. I want women to
Yeah.
be like MC Hammer, I always say, like, because when your HRV is very high, your resilience is very high, nothing
Mm.
bothers you.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when your HRV is high, you're like MC Hammer, like, da na na, can't touch. Right? You're just untouchable. You're like, somebody says something stupid, somebody says something ugly and you're like, "Whatever." Somebody said to me on one of my TikTok things, like, "Okay, Yoda." And I replied, "That's Master Yoda to you."
Yes, I love it. I love it. That's fantastic. Kirsten, this has been such a fun conversation. I really appreciate your knowledge and the work that you're doing and incorporating AI in such a positive way. Tell everybody a little bit about where they can find you, how they can find Conceivable, all those things.
Thank you very much. So if you are interested, the first probably in the next 4 months, we'll still only be doing fertility. If you have anything else going on that you wanna work on, if you can just tolerate her talking about fertility, she has to work on everything, right? She
Uh-huh.
has to work on PCOS. She has to work on regulating your period. She has to work on your blood sugar. She has to work on your endometriosis. She has to work on whatever is going on related to your period and hormones. So if you can just put up soon, that'll be new features will be, and you'll be able to move into like a PCOS experience, a endometriosis experience, wherever
Okay.
you are, menopause experience, postmenopause for me experience. So you can do that. You can go to conceivable.com. Very soon, you'll be able to sign up for early access. So once the app is out, you'll be able to be the first person. You'll get a discount. You can pre-order your Halo ring. It's like the Aura ring, half of the price. Actually,
Nice.
accurately tracks temperature, and more importantly, is the first non-invasive glucose monitor.
Mm,
So your blood sugar is really important for your
yes.
hormones and fertility. Of those 16,000 women we interviewed last year, nobody knew their blood sugar status. I mean, a handful. Like, is your blood sugar high, low, or normal? Just nobody knew. So I was like,
Wow.
well, that's important because then if you're wearing the ring and you're trying to get pregnant, you have PCOS and your blood sugar's high, it sends a note to your
Mm,
chef and says, "Hey, her blood sugar's high. Let's adjust her menus for that." Or if you're pregnant and suddenly we're monitoring your blood sugar and your blood sugar starts creeping up earlier than 6 months, you're in month 2 and suddenly your blood sugar's going up. She sends a note, "Hey, her blood sugar's high. Let's." So we wait 2 weeks to see if we can get it up, sends a note to the therapist, talk to her, see if she's more stressed, if that's impacting her blood sugar. Then if it's not, we send a note to your doctor. And that way we're keeping everybody in the loop. We're doing what we can do to the best of our ability on the wellness factor, and then we give the rest to the doctors with a clean report. This is what we've done so far. This is what worked. This is what didn't.
yeah.
You take over and do biomedicine now.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So everybody's going to find Conceivable soon and get that app and it $15.99 a month. I mean, you can't beat that. You can't get a health coach for that. You can't get a doctor. You can't even pay a copay for that. So this is amazing.
You can't, and it's better. I mean, it increased the likelihood of conception by between 150 to 260% in 4 months. No human
Amazing.
interaction. So, and
Amazing.
the last thing we're doing that I am actually very proud of because this is one of the hardest things that I had to do. Women who are struggling to working on women are taking supplements. They're taking so
Uh-huh.
many supplements. Most of them are taking the worst supplements
Mhm.
that I've ever seen, the lowest quality. They're
Yep.
going on Amazon. They're like, which is the one that's $8? And then
Uh-huh.
they're taking $28 supplements. often taking things like Geritol, Ovasitol, Vitex that are hurting your fertility. And we had a full line of clinical grade supplements, but then when we were recommending them, if I recommended everything that I thought would be beneficial to you, it was like $700 of supplements, right?
Yeah.
And then that's against everything that I stand for. But at the same time, I don't want you taking $8 garbage.
Right.
And I don't know I don't know how this happened, but I got introduced to a huge manufacturer who agreed to sort of work a deal with us that now if you're using the app, or you can just use a quiz on the website, and basically you answer the questions and then we build you a personalized pack of
Hmm.
supplements. So up to
Very
8
cool.
different, same quality like as Thorne or Metagenics, but
Yeah.
for $109 a month.
Wow. That's awesome.
So like 70% less than you would pay, highest quality, obviously very carefully sourced, triple checked, like the best quality
Yeah.
you can get for, again, almost nothing relative to what you're getting. So you can
Yeah.
do that today. You can go and take the quiz. And what's nice is we give you a little report at the end of the quiz, and it's looking at what are the main underlying issues that are going to be impacting either your period or your fertility, and explains it to you. So you get that too. And that's all free.
Perfect. That's awesome. I love that. And I'm a huge proponent of supplements that are clinical grade as well. So make sure it's third party tested, get it from a clinician who can prescribe the clinical grade ones. Yeah, very, very important. Thank you so much for being here. This was such a wealth of knowledge today. I had a really fun time chatting with you.
Me too. I really enjoyed it.
Great. Everybody have a great week and go have some fun between the sheets. Thank you for joining us and exploring sexual health topics here on Between the Sheets. New episodes are available every Wednesday. Please subscribe and rate our podcast so we can reach more listeners. And don't forget to tell your friends, partners, and anyone who will listen about Between the Sheets. Send any comments, questions, or stories to podcastbetweenthesheets@gmail.com. It's all one word, podcastbetweenthesheets@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and go have some fun between the sheets.